I'm your host, Grayson Brulte. Welcome to another episode of SAE Tomorrow Today, a show about emerging technology and trends in mobility with leaders and innovators to make it all happen. On today's episode, we're absolutely honored to be joined by Sam Clement, Executive Director of the Detroit Auto Show. On today's episode, Sam will share what's new for 2026, the partnership with SAE for Immediate Industry Days, and why Detroit is the place to be in January. We hope you enjoy this episode. Sam, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have you here. The Detroit Auto Show's coming up. How you feeling about it? A lot of big stuff going on.
Yeah, feeling really good. We're about 6 weeks out from the show that runs January 14th to the 25th, and I really do feel good about it. I came into this role about 18 months ago as the co-executive director and became the sole executive director in February. So a lot of lessons were learned in 2025, and that was helpful because we had a lot of momentum that we built on that show, and it's carrying over here to 2026. I feel really good about it.
I got the kid in me has to ask you, when do the toys, the cars, when do they start arriving and showing up on site?
Yeah, we start our move-in process next week. So we're recording this on December 10th, and so December 15th or so, we'll start moving some of the exhibits in, and the big push comes right at the start of the new year. They'll be ready to go and have lots and lots of vehicles on display January 14th to 25th.
There's lots of vehicles, and your members of your association make great vehicles. Is there a special vehicle that an attendee might be looking forward to seeing this year that they might have not seen before? Anything big and special being planned?
Yeah, we'll definitely have some unveiled. So we're really excited about that. That's part of our Media and Industry Days, and we've moved those back to its traditional format on January 14th and 15th. So that'll be before our charity preview and before we open to the public. And so I know we have some of our OEMs are going to have some surprise vehicles that are coming, well, some specialty vehicles that are part of our gallery, which is our ultra luxury space where you see things like Maseratis, Pagani's, Ferraris. And so to have those kind of special access and then up-close looks at some of the most special vehicles in the world.
Is there a historical timeline from when a vehicle is introduced to the Detroit Auto Show to when it goes into production, when an individual can go to a dealer and purchase that vehicle?
Yeah, some of them are immediate. Some of them never come to fruition, right? So some of those concept vehicles are there just to kind of get the imagination going and have people imagine what could be. Some of them never come to fruition, but that's, I think, some of the excitement of it, to see something that, you dream of, you wish of, and hopefully it pushes the industry forward with innovation and technology. But a lot of these vehicles, you'll see on the lots, days after, weeks after, and it's part of that purchasing decision that people come down there to make.
And that's a big decision, and individuals from all over the country and all over the world, as a matter of fact, they make their way to the Motor City, and to go to the Detroit Auto Show. It's iconic. How do you build on that iconic legacy of, one, the Motor City, but also the Detroit Auto Show, where it's probably the world's most renowned, well-known auto show, where, as I said, individuals come from all over the world. How do you continue to build on that legacy and heritage?
I think it's a part of it is an evolution. To your point, this was the biggest show in the world. It is, I think, the most known, and that's really special, and then something we take a lot of pride in. We have a tagline that there's only one Motor City, and I think for that to be true, that we have to have a signature auto show. And there's no doubt that our show has evolved, and post-COVID, there's certainly been some challenges, but we're leaning into what the new era looks like. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think that means that we have to be technologically forward. We certainly need to be innovative. But I also think a big piece is we need to lean into our heritage as Detroit and do things that put a spotlight on the city and talk about our auto heritage. We talk about what's the next generation of developing talent within this auto industry, which I think is something you'll see a lot of this year, connecting people with career opportunities or career aspirations. So we're building this whole ecosystem of not just coming down to see cars, but to connect with auto careers, to connect with music, to connect with art. And it's this whole robust system of what's happening in Detroit, which is in the midst of an unbelievable renaissance. I think our show is a part of that as well.
Yeah, the Renaissance. I know, and some people get offended by this, but the Lions are playing good. I'm impressed. I mean, they've come a long way. Last year, we won't talk about that, but they've come a long way, which is good for the city. And you're seeing, famous musicians, Kid Rock, Eminem. They're getting involved with the city and kind of, if you want to call it, building this Motor City brand, which I think is very, very good. So you're getting, let's call it, younger individuals or aspiring engineers involved. Are your local members getting involved where they're getting there and they can have hands-on exhibits where they can learn about new technology or potentially explore a different career path?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a very engaged board of directors. I give them all the credit, particularly Todd Zott, who was our 2026 show chairman this year, and Lincoln Phillip, who's our board president. They have been incredible leaders as we build towards our 2026 show. And I think having a show like this historically is because we've had buy-in of our board. We've had great show chairs throughout its history, great leadership, including Ron Albert, who I took over for. And, having that buy-in, I think, creates a strong network of support because, they want their dealers to come down there and they want their staff to come down there and they want their networks to come down there. I think, having, them as ambassadors has been super helpful. And they believe in this new vision. And, they put a lot of trust in me, and I'm incredibly thankful for that because, when you bring in the new guy, there's always, challenges and any transition comes with ups and downs. But to have that level of support has been great. And, they have truly bought into this year's show. And I think that'll be reflected on the show floor.
As the auto shows transform, a lot of it's becoming digital. How do you balance the in-person with the digital? Because obviously you have to get the narrative and the media out there. So how do you balance those two different perspectives?
I think it starts by having a year-round presence. One of the things that we did immediately when I took over is we wanted to have a better presence on social media because a lot of people's first engagement with the auto show is online on their phones. And for us, I said this a number of times, we don't have the luxury anymore of just showing up in December and saying, hey, here's the auto show, see you in January. We need to have a year-round presence. So, one of the things that I thought, our team has done a very good job of is we created this online campaign called My Drive, My City, My Show. And it's a storytelling campaign. We talk about people in Detroit and their love of vehicles, their favorite car, what some of their core memories of being on cars, and some of their favorite drives. And we told these stories. And we have young people, old people, black people, white people, men, women. It's a completely diverse mix of people that we featured, and it's been great. It's won a number of awards. I think it's up to like 21 marketing awards. It was nominated for 2 Emmys. And those awards are cool, but I think the value of that is it's opened us up to a new audience and in a new way. And when you come to our social media page, you're not just seeing pictures of cars at the show. You're seeing us talk about the auto industry and the evolution of the auto industry and the nostalgia of the auto industry, but also its future. And I think that's something that positions us uniquely and helps build that momentum. So people aren't, like I said, just showing up in December and trying to understand what the show's all about. We're telling this throughout the year, and that's created quite a bit of buzz.
Which is great, though, because somebody has, I think a big part of the economy is going towards experiences and going to the auto shows in an experience. So when you go to the auto show, I'm just going as a regular individual, but you also have exhibitors, you have OEMs, you have the media. How do you balance the needs and the wants of all these different groups that are attending your show that play a very vital part in having a successful overall show?
One of the benefits that we have in Detroit is we're a 2-week show. So that's a lot of time, and you can serve a lot of different audiences. With our media and industry days, that's obviously an opportunity for our automotive media and business media to come down and have kind of those deeper conversations with our OEM leaders as well as suppliers and those in the tech sector. And that is a unique time for them to talk about the industry, to write about the industry, to put news out there about what's coming into the industry, to bring in newsmakers to talk about what's coming. And then you have an event like Charity Preview, which is also special. Right? This is an opportunity to put the focus on the youth and young people and raise millions of dollars for these organizations, which is a very civic focused evening. Of course, it's glamorous and it's a lot of fun and we've got great entertainment, but there's a core mission of raising money for the community. And that's a critical piece of who we are as a show and a responsibility that we take seriously. And then we open to the public for 9 days. And that's a chance, it is a lot of fun and it should be fun. It's where, you referenced it at the beginning, where a kid comes down and their eyes get wide and they see these cars they've never even dreamed of. And that's a core memory when you come down there with your family. And then for us to put on, entertainment throughout that time, to have these fun hands-on experiences, to see, these kids go on an indoor ride that looks like a roller coaster on, Bronco Mountain or Camp Jeep or our own track. Those are experiences that, in the middle of winter are hard to replicate. And I think that's something really special. It's also super important for our economy here in the city of Detroit. This is the time of year, you can look right behind me. We're getting pounded with, a couple inches of snow today, and that's not uncommon during this time of year. And so often people aren't going outside or they don't have a reason to go outside. This gives them a reason to come downtown, not only to come downtown to our show, but to stay downtown and go to the restaurants and do some shopping and give a little bit of a boon to some of the local businesses in that area. And when you have hundreds of thousands of people coming down for a 2-week stretch, that's really important to the economy, especially if it's something that we do annually, which we are doing.
What type of economic impact has the association put any numbers on this? Because I'm looking at restaurants, hotels, boutiques. We can go down the line. It seems to me that it has to have a pretty significant economic impact.
Yeah, we get numbers every year. And last year, I think we were somewhere around like the $300 million plus range for economic impact. I think over the last 2.5 decades or so, it's something around like $8 billion. So this is real and it's important. But it also shows, for us as a show that we need to do a good job putting on something that people want to come down to see and want to experience. because it means so much to these other businesses around the community. We certainly don't want them to be left out in the cold, pardon the pun, but I think this is something that, like I said, we take that responsibility seriously of being an annual event that the city can hang its hat on to showcase itself. Because we have national media, we have international media that comes here during those 2 weeks. This is a chance for the city to show itself off and how it's evolving and all the great things that are happening in the city of Detroit. And to be able to give it an annual stage is really special.
It's wonderful. I want to stay on the special theme because the charity thing is really special. How is the capital being deployed into workforce development or education? How is that capital from that wonderful charity event being deployed in the local Detroit community?
We have 6 different charities that we support through our charity preview event. And actually this year we've added a 7th charity with a specialty event. We have our gallery, which was on January 13th before the show really even opens. And we're doing it to raise money for help combat food insecurity. And so these are real dollars that make an impact throughout the year. Through our community foundation, I think we just distributed grants around $250,000 to $300,000. This is important. These are dollars that these organizations who are very grassroots, at the heart of the mission of what's happening in the city to uplift the community, they're investing in these charities and in these businesses and making a real difference. And so for us to have an event that people are still looking forward to and are willing, to buy a $400 ticket because they know the value that is going back into these charities, it's remarkable and it's super special. And one of the things that we're doing this year that's new is we've launched an event called Charity Preview Junior. So it's actually a week before our charity event, and we're doing it at Mott Children's Hospital in Ann Arbor, which is one of our charitable recipients from Charity Preview. And we're essentially putting on a small charity preview for the young kids there. So a lot of these kids are battling some of the most challenging physical ailments that you can imagine, which is super stressful for their parents. Obviously, a tough time for any young person. So we thought, well, what if we can come in and give a special day for those kids to take their mind off of what's happening? And we've had incredible contributions, people donating money to purchase Power Wheels. So these kids will have access to these Power Wheels and they'll drive around the hospital. If they have a surgery, they can get in these Power Wheels and they can drive to the operating room and really use that as a distraction to not think about what's about to happen, but to have this as a fun experience of going down there. And I think that speaks to the greater mission of what the yes, we are absolutely a place you come down and you see the latest technology, you see the latest vehicles, you get excited about what that next purchase might be that will pull into your garage. But we have a greater philanthropic mission, and that is to uplift our community, to be a steward of our community. And I think that's being reflected in what we've been doing over the last number of months.
You're doing good. I mean, I can just imagine some of the emotional moments from when you're interacting with those children, some of it, heartbreaking. The charity issue is interesting. I never knew about it. Is the Detroit Auto Show the only one taking such a large philanthropic approach? Because it's really impactful.
There are other auto shows that absolutely are philanthropic and they give back to their communities. I think that's a real special piece of what we as auto shows across the country and really across the world do. Like I said, we've raised $125 million over the last 25, 30 years. And that, again, those dollars make a real impact and change lives. And so we will never lose that core mission. It really is a special night. It's a chance for obviously glamour and glitz. And anytime you can combine that with cars and great entertainment, it's a great night. But to be able to hand some checks over, after that evening and to hear from our recipients about what that means to their organizations and the families that they serve, and that's something you really can't replicate.
You can't replicate it, which you do. So you're doing good on the charitable aspect. You're doing really great at getting the public engaged with the social. How about an aspiring engineer that shows up there with their parents? Is there any, it's called behind the scenes or hands-on interactive engineering that some of your members might have set up as, if you want to call it, exhibits or experiences on the show floor?
One of the new experiences that people will see at the 2026 show is what we call our Visit Detroit Interactive. So traditionally, those who have come down to Huntington Place, or many know it as Cobo Hall in the past, there's a huge atrium area. And that's where we typically have had a stage for performances. And the acoustics in that space are not great. And so this year we decided to move that stage onto the main show floor, which I think is super important because it's surrounded now by the vehicles. So the ambiance around the stage is very auto-centric. And I think that's great. But then that left a hole in the atrium. But we were strategic about that, and we created a space for STEM exploration. So down there, we've partnered with the Michigan Science Center, which was one of the top 5, I think maybe even the top 3 children's science museums in the country. So an incredible staff there, led by Christian Greer, and we have a great partnership with them to come down and explore STEM opportunities. And to your point, get people engaged with the engineering opportunities that may be out there. We have another group coming called Code 313, and they're bringing virtual reality and augmented reality headsets so that young people and students can put these headsets on. And for example, they can, in a virtual setting, change a tire or change oil or check an engine. And the point of that is to get them comfortable with that so that, when they start pursuing this as a career, they're not intimidated by it. They're like, I've seen this before. I can do this. I've done it in a setting that I'm comfortable with because they engage with, active headsets and they're playing video games. So it's in a capacity that they're very familiar with. And they translate those skills, hopefully, to then working in our shops and working in our industry. And so to have things like that, and then we'll have kids ride and drives in this area. We'll have some simulators. So it's this comprehensive space for exploration of automotive from a young person's lens. And I think that's something that is not new to the show, but creating a dedicated space to that is something really special. And I think that you're going to find a lot of kids leaving the show this year saying, wow, there's a lot out there for me. And I'm curious as to where that might take me.
And I'll use the Walt Disney term of plus it. When you plus it to enhance the experience, are you partnering with any local vocational schools where you might have a child in middle school says, well, I really don't really care about academics, but I like to work with my hands. Oh, hi, meet Detroit Vocational School. Are you bringing any of the vocational schools in there to expose children to potential really great engineering paths or technical skill paths?
I'll actually answer this with two parts. So earlier this summer, we invested $25,000 as the association into an engine building boot camp in partnership with the National Motorsports Association and Curry Motorsports. And we had 40 young people in the city of Detroit go through this 8-week boot camp with the concept of, yes, they're working on some motorsport stuff, but now they all have skills to go work in our auto shops. They can all be mechanics, and those skills translate right away. They are certified to be able to do that because of what they learned during this 8-week camp. We did that over the course we launched it in May, and then it went through about early August. We wanted to build on that momentum. And so we're going to have thousands of high school students come during our Future Leaders program, which is in the middle of our public show. They're going to have these career exploration opportunities, a very curated experience when they walk through the show floor. We've invited a Future Leaders program for our college students. They'll come during our media and industry days, and we have more than a dozen colleges that are participating in this. So we've got, more than 30 schools ultimately that are participating and bringing students down to explore not just the show and to see all the great stuff that's happening on the show floor, but then we're going to take them to these interactive experiences and say, think about the careers that are out there, because there are a lot out there. I mean, we heard not too long ago, Jim Farley commented that there's a lot of openings and a lot of opportunity in the automotive space. And we want to be one of the groups that helps provide solutions to that, and hopefully help, educate and inspire kids to get involved.
Because inspiration is the greatest thing. You never know. Oh, this is cool. I can go engineer this, or I can go build this, or I can build that widget, because imagination unlocks everything. And you mentioned it's going to be also on Media Industry Days, which SAE is a co-sponsor of that. Why take the education element of, if you want to say it, across the gauntlet, across the entire show, and not say, okay, it's one day, okay, hi, see you later, but no, make it, I want to say, a foundational part of the overall show.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're super appreciative of SAE being a part of our Media Industry Days as a sponsor. And I don't know that everyone knows this, but I'm happy to share that through the partnership, a portion of our Industry Day tickets goes to the AWIM program and university programs. Again, I'm looking to inspire the innovators with hands-on STEM. And so really proud of that partnership with your organization. So thank you to SAE. But, I think, the reason that we're leaning into this is because if we don't have talent in the automotive industry, the automotive industry is going to have a tough time. And I think, again, in Detroit of all places, we should be the ones stepping up and saying, let's find some solutions. Let's help recruit people. Let's help inspire that next generation of automotive talent. It's no secret that our industry is evolving with new technology, new powertrains, whatever that looks like. We want to be on the forefront of making sure that we have the talent here in Detroit and in the state of Michigan to solve those opportunities. I think there's so much out there, and there's so much need for talent and engagement, that if our show can be a place where a young person is inspired, or at least gets that itch to say, what's there for me? I think that we're achieving that. And I think we're really just scratching the surface of what that can look like, but we're really proud to be on the forefront of that.
And I'm curious, because you sit there as the Detroit Auto Dealer Association, you have relationships with all the major OEMs. Are you seeing a revival of the apprenticeship programs, or any of these programs where the child goes to vocational school and perhaps they go to Ford, GM, Stellantis, and they start an apprenticeship program where they can learn a craft? Is that starting to come back at all?
I think so. I think you're starting to see it shift, because I think people realize that they can have incredibly successful careers. And if the 4-year college route is not, what's fit for them, that's completely fine because there's so much opportunity out there. And again, there's so much need out there for that type of talent. And I think that you're seeing also young people being very willing to use their hands, and not everything is sitting behind a computer. Like people want to do things, they want to build things, they want to build what's next. It's fun, it's accomplishing. And I think you are seeing that shift back. And again, I think our association and our dealers are doing a really good job of creating those opportunities, finding ways to get young people engaged, whether at their dealership or somehow in the industry. And I think you're going to see more and more of that over the coming years.
And it's wonderful. And we're 6 weeks out from the auto show. How you feeling? I know the toys are coming soon, but what else do you have to do to make this show a huge success?
I would say to a degree it's already been a success because we're not just doing the show just for those 2 weeks. We've had such positive last 11 months, like I said, with doing things where we're developing the next generation of workforce talent through boot camps or our philanthropic efforts that have been throughout the year, storytelling campaign. So in a lot of ways, I think it's already. But of course, what defines what a successful show is what happens during that 2 weeks. And we have great momentum. I feel great. I really do. I'm a Metro Detroiter. I grew up here. The show has been a part of my life, since I was born. And I'm really proud of the way that our team, our staff has rallied around it. We have incredible support, whether it's through our board or dealer network. Our staff is working year round to make sure that this thing is a success. And I give them all the credit in the world. They really bought into a new vision of what this can be. And I think it'll be reflected when people come down to the show. I've told people, I think when you walk into the building this year, there's going to be a new energy, an energy that I think will tap into those feelings that people had in the mid 2000s when you would have these multi-layered displays, and those won't all be there. And I'm being very candid about that. But we've also done some special stuff that we've taken on as the show to say, all right, we're going to build some awe-inspiring moments. We're going to do some things that are special that we're not relying on anyone else to do. We're going to take on that, and we want to create experiences that really set the tone for what auto shows look like moving forward. And I'm really proud to share some of those off when people come down.
That's wonderful. As we look to wrap up, what's the elevator pitch? If somebody's listening to this and says, well, I might want to take the grandkids, I might want to take my son or daughter, what's the pitch to say, okay, get off the sofa and get down to the Detroit Auto Show?
You're going to be blown away because there is something for everyone. Whether you have a young child, whether you are in the market for a vehicle, whether you just want to see something awesome and something fun and go down there. I mean, there will be no shortage of opportunities to take those pictures that you'll cherish literally for the rest of your life. I think that's one of the great parts of the show. I hear from people all the time say, oh, I went with my parents in the 1980s and I still have this picture from this. Or in the 90s, I saw this celebrity down there and that picture just popped up on like my time hop. Those are moments that you can't get back and you will cherish for the rest of your life. We're going to create those moments for you in 2026. They are going to be there. There are going to be so much to do. Every single day will be something new. So if you come on a Saturday of the first weekend of the show, you will have a very different experience on the next Saturday of that second weekend. And I think that's the exciting part. There'll be something for everyone. Every day will feel something unique. I mean, we have things like racing day, right? Last year we had Joseph Newgarden, who won back-to-back Indy 500s. He was just walking around the show floor, giving people rides on one of our tracks. Where else are you going to get that kind of up close and personal access to that? I mean, it truly is a unique opportunity. Couldn't be more excited about it. I'm so proud of the work that's gone into this show this year, and I hope people come down and see it for themselves.
The Detroit Auto Show creates unique memories that you look back on fondly. Today is tomorrow, tomorrow's today. The feature is the Detroit Auto Show. Sam, thank you so much for coming on SAE Tomorrow Today.
I appreciate it. Hope everyone goes and buys tickets. DetroitAutoShow.com. We'll see you in January.
Thank you for listening to SAE Tomorrow Today. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to hear more, please kindly rate, review, and let us know what topics you'd like for us to explore next.
SAE International makes no representations as to the accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. The information and opinions are for general information only. SAE International does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast.